We finished up a series last week about timelines and went through really the progression of Jesus, starting with the Lord's Supper all the way through when he gave the final command to the disciples. So today we're going to start a new series. Actually, I have 3 series in mind that I'll just kind of, probably over a period of time, kind of dovetail them together. The first one I believe is going to be New Testament life supports. Because there's so many scriptures in the New Testament that you go to. If you want some support in your life, learn those scriptures and be knowledgeable of those scriptures, and you will have support in life. So from the New Testament, we're going to call it life support. From the Old Testament, we're going to call it Old Testament treasures. Because in the same vein, there's so many scriptures, there's so much knowledge, so many things in the Old Testament that if you're familiar with these scriptures and know that they're treasures in your life, things that you can hold on to. And then the third one that we'll come down to at some point in time is doctrine, a need-to-know basis. If we just throw the word doctrine out, all of us probably like, oh, don't ask me any doctrine, don't really get deep into doctrine, I'm not really sure I know any Christian doctrine. And it really is on a need-to-know basis, isn't it? You need to know. You need to know. I need to know. We need to know doctrine. So 3 series that will be coming over a period of time. New Testament life supports, Old Testament treasures, and then doctrine, a need-to-know basis. Today, the title of the message is a natural progression. A natural progression. Let me set the stage here a little bit. I did a little bit of research to kind of see if I could even understand exactly what a natural progression is. And progression, the word itself, is moving forward. That's not too hard to understand. Progression is moving forward. And one of the words I came up with for natural is expected. So to put them together, a natural progression is an expected way to move forward. This is how you should move forward. It's natural. It's expected. This is a progression. In my research, I came across the natural progression of life stages. And you ever look at life stages and see any natural progression that goes there? Let me give you 6 of them. If you're approximately 18 to 26 in that group, or have been in that group at some point in time, that is the group that says establishing autonomy and independence from the life stage. If you're in an age group of 18 to 26, it says you're establishing autonomy and independence. Approximately 27 to 31 is a time of turmoil and question our direction in life. Now, if you've been through that period of time or not, but that's just what they say in the life stages, it's when we tend to feel like in our life there's a little more turmoil and we're maybe kind of questioning our direction. 32 to 42 is stability and commitment. What kind of a period of time maybe you stop questioning and you settle down just a little bit. Approximately 42 to 48, re-questioning, especially our dreams. So when you get to that mid-age, I guess, period of time, you kind of get to the question, did I do right? Did I go the right direction? And my dreams, and you look at that. Now, approximately 49 to 65 is one of these words I'm not sure I really like, because I'm in this group. Productive, which is good, but the other one says peaking. I guess that 49 to 65 is kind of peaking in life. What you know. But I like the word productive, that's good. Approximately 66 and beyond. You're just kind of fine-tuning who you want to become. And that's just life stages. When you look and you try to say, let me see if I can understand a natural progression, that's a natural progression through life. All of us are going through life, and we're going through different stages, whether we know it or not, whether we totally fit, it's still a progression, it's a natural progression. Well, there is a natural progression for life stages, and there's a natural progression in the Christian life. And it's found in John 8, 31 through 32. To the Jews who had believed him, Jesus said, if you hold to my teaching, you are really my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Now, a lot of the New Testament life supports are going to be scriptures that probably somewhere along the way you've heard of. But you have to probably heard at least a part. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Is that right? I even read a little bit as I was researching that a lot of times this is put on the scriptures installed in libraries and things like that. And the person in the commentary said, people just were missing the mark. It's not really a physical thing, you know, the truth, It's a spiritual thing. And so that connotation is really just out of context. Let's see if we can kind of understand the scriptures here and see if we can begin to move along in the scriptures a bit. When I was at the bar, working on a master's, the head of the music department was Dr. George Parks. I don't know why I still got my feedback here. We can't go really back a little bit. I don't know if any of you ever heard of Dr. George Parks, but he was at the bar as the head of the music department there. He was there for quite a long time, very admired, very respected in the community. Anyway, when I was working on a master's, I had a class with Dr. Parks, and Dr. Parks made a statement one day that stuck with me all the time. And that statement was, learning begins where the learner is. Now, if you're in education and preaching or ministry or anything, you might want to really grasp that statement. Learning begins where the learner is. Let me see if I can explain it. If you have a doctorate in a subject area and the people you're speaking to have never heard of the subject, you better not speak to them on that doctoral level, right? You don't go into an area and teach on the subject. You got the doctor, and these people have never ever heard of the subject. Do you speak way up here to them? No. How about the same type of situation? You speak to people who have doctorates in the subject. You can't water it right now, or eventually they're going to get bored. The teacher can't just submit the material. They need to know the level of the knowledge of the people to whom they are speaking. Are either going to be way over their head, or you're going to bore them to death because you're so far under them. And a lot of times as teachers, even in elementary school with my kids, I can really work on this. And sometimes I go out, we'll talk about this, and they go, it's up here, it's up here. They're not going to get it. And you're almost just wasting your breath to do it. So here's the question. Was Jesus talking to biblical scholars here in this scripture? And I say the answer is no. He was talking to common Jewish people. See, John noted that to many people, Jesus' teachings were confusing. And you have to think, wow, they were using the old Jewish way, and Jesus was teaching them the new Jesus way. You think that was confusing to them? Obviously it was. God was opening their understanding with Jesus' life-giving words. We live this way, the Jewish way, and now you're coming in and you're teaching on a level over here, and you're trying to get us to go a new way in a new direction. See, the learners here are the Jews, and they appear to really have believed that Jesus was either a prophet or a Messiah in their way of thinking, but apparently at this point they really still did not truly believe that he was God. They appear to have been saved in a lot of the ones that he was talking to, and really just not really quite getting it. And once again, Jesus is having to say, let me tell you how to truly be a disciple of mine. And if you go back and you look in the scriptures, he has to say that several times. If you really, truly want to be a disciple of mine, let me tell you how to do it. You haven't gotten it yet, let me tell you again. You got to keep bringing it down to their level to say, let me tell you the old Jewish way, here's the new Jesus way, and here's how it's going. Learning begins where the learner is. And these Jews who were beginning to believe Jesus apparently still were missing the mark on what it was to truly be a disciple. So let's take the natural progression, and let's go to, we'll go with learning, and then we're going to move to becoming, and then we're going to go into experiencing. So let's go to learn first. Let's talk about learning the progression. If you hold to my teaching, that's the first part. Consider two words here, hold and teaching. Jesus said, if you hold to my teaching. See, the word hold carries a connotation of continuing on. If you hold to my teaching, if you continue on in my teaching. Now, we went to the zoo last weekend with Aaron's family, and of course, Ansley is here today, Cameron, and I carried Ansley a lot around the zoo. And so, as long as I was holding Ansley and I was continually pressing her up against my body, I was holding on to her. But if I would have lost that continuity of that pressing and I would begin to let go, she would have fallen down. And I am no longer holding on to her. I lost the continuity of holding or pressing on. And Jesus is saying to them, hold on to my teachings. Now, many of you know I took karate when I was at First Baptist in Pasadena many years ago. And you've heard the story about one night I got into a match with this guy, younger guy, who almost beat me to a pulp. How many of y'all remember that? See, there was a young man in my church at that time. His name was Chris. And I'd gone, Chris was a drummer playing in a youth choir band and all. He was in the hospital having a really hard time. I went in one day and had prayer with him. And God really, for some reason, after that prayer, God touched him and he got to do better. When he came up to me after he got out of the hospital, his name was Dirk. And I really appreciate you coming and praying with me in the hospital. And he said, I tell you what, I know karate. And I will teach you karate if you want to know karate. I thought, hey, free karate lesson? And he said, we went one-on-one for a long time and he was just teaching me. But you know what? I didn't continue on with this. And today, if you approach me about karate, I can't tell you one thing about karate. I don't know anything about it. Because I didn't continue on, I didn't continue holding on to what Chris was teaching me. Jesus said, hold on to continue in my teaching. Well, let's talk about it. Hey, hold on. What are we holding on to? Jesus, what am I teaching us? This was fresh new material to these people. This was hot off the press. This was teaching in a way they had never experienced. They didn't have a New Testament to go back to. Jesus couldn't speak one day. And they said, oh, I didn't really get that. Let me go turn to the New Testament. Then I can find what Jesus said. It's all brand new. Jesus was paving a brand new path, a new way. When I was going to the seminary, I go over Interstate 10, and I looked over and there's something going on in that new area of land. I go back and forth and say, man, there's something interesting going on. Eventually I went out and really comparing off here. You never really painted a path or something over there. They mix out the path. And finally, after we're doing the seminary, I looked off, and it was going to be the Grand Parkway. Have you ever heard of the Grand Parkway? It's going to be 187 miles around Houston. All that time, those are coming over and said, oh, they're paving a new path, a new way to get around Houston. What was Jesus doing? He was paving a new path, and he was talking to these people and he said, look, hold on to my teaching. He said, hold on and continue on to my teaching, and I will teach you about God. I am cutting a new path, so follow me. So let's move to the road. Let's follow the natural progression. Hold on to my teachings, and you are really my disciple. Now, this is really important. It's really, see if you can tune in here this way. See, the mark of a true disciple is a continuation in the instructions of his or her people, like we talked about before. A disciple is by definition of a learner, not necessarily a believer in the Corinthian sense. Think about this. A disciple remains a disciple as long as he or she continues to follow the instructions of his or her teacher. That's the definition. So you're a disciple if you're following the instructions of learning. If you stop the learning, then you're no longer a disciple. See, when that one stops following faithfully, he ceases to be a disciple. That gets a little mixed up here. Well, a disciple is a believer not a disciple. A person can be a believer. Believe in Jesus Christ and be saved. And he said, all it takes is believing in me. But are they always a disciple? Not necessarily. Not by the definition of what a disciple is. So are there many Christian believers who are not disciples? Look around our churches today. People say, I believe 100%, I put my faith, I put my trust in Jesus. Are you learning from him? No, I'm not following him in any way. Then you're not a disciple of Jesus. You are not following him in the way of learning. God never forces believers to continue following him. He says, I want you to. I want you to put your faith and trust in me. I want you to be saved, and then I want you to get into that natural progression. And I want you to start becoming a disciple. And the way that is to learn. And that's what he was trying to tell these people, right? Back then, they say, look, you can follow me around. They say, literally, hey, follow me. Do you believe in me? We're getting there. Jesus says we're getting there. then you're not my disciple. Now, everything I know about karate didn't come from Chris, but didn't stay with him, but it came from the Karate Kid. How many of you watch the Karate Kid? Oh, my favorite. Yeah, I love this scene right here. Daniel says, "Hey, Mr. Miyagi, hey, Miyagi, what kind of belt do you have?" You know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean? Yeah. What kind of belt do you have? Miyagi says, "Canvas, JCPenney, $3.98. You like it?" Daniel laughs and says, "Oh, no. And Miyagi goes, "In Okinawa, belt means no need rope to hold up pants." That's classic. And then he looked at Daniel and he kind of tapped him on the head. He said, "Daniel, son." He said, "Karate here." Tapped him on the head. And he said, "Daniel, son, karate here." And then he points to the belt and said, "Karate never here." Understand? See, I would say I believe the knowledge of karate will protect me if I get a belt or whatever, but in a bad situation. But if I'm not a disciple of karate, I can believe, if I'm in a bad situation, somebody's fixing to really put it to me, I go, "Buddy, I know karate." "Do you really know karate?" "No, I don't." And you take off and run. Because you don't really know it. You don't really understand karate. You can say, "I believe in it," but unless I had been that disciple and stayed with Chris, I was not going to be able to defend myself. So holds true as Christian. Say, I am a Christian, and yet I know no Scriptures can help me to speak. I'm not a true disciple. Say, somebody text me. The Bible says. This Matthew 4:1-11. If you are of God, tell these stones to become bread. Jesus answered, It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that comes from the mouth of God. If you are of God, throw yourself down. It is written. He will give man his angels concerning you. They will lift you up in their hands. You will not strike your foot against the stone. Jesus answered, it is written, do not put the Lord God's test. See, all this I said, if you will bow down and worship me, Jesus said, away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. Do you think Jesus was prepared for Satan? Absolutely he was. Jesus was able to defend off Satan because of his knowledge of God. He knew what to say to him. See, if I would stay with a disciple in an attack situation, I couldn't defend myself. Ever wonder why Satan would beat you up? Ever wonder why you feel like you're getting up every day and the world is crashing in on you and Satan just giving it to you back and forth? Maybe you are a disciple of Jesus. You're a believer, but you have no ammo to fire back at Satan, like Jesus did. To become a true disciple, hold on to his teaching. Then the natural progression continues. If you learn from Jesus, that's the first part. If you become the disciple, then you experience it. Here's the last part of the natural progression. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Learning from Jesus and becoming his disciple, you then experience the knowledge of the truth, and the truth sets you free. So two very important questions. What is the truth? And what does it set us free from? Two very important questions. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set. If you go out on the street and you tell somebody that, hey, you shall know the truth, the truth shall set you free. What's the truth? And what's it set you free? The disciples will continue to apply Jesus' words. Don't know the truth. Jesus' words are the truth. That's the truth. What Jesus said is the truth. Because he is the incarnation of truth. This truth. Jesus' words set people free when they understand his teaching. Somebody go out there and say, hey, I want to tell you the truth. What is the truth? It's Jesus' teaching. Jesus is the truth. You want to know Jesus' teaching? And you will know the truth. The Jewish tradition had it that if they labored in the study of law, they were free. You know that? Think about it. This is who he's talking to. He's talking to people who say, Jesus, you got law. You got to study law. He's free. Learn to get on the learn. What are you reading here? That's not true. Jesus said, I am the truth and the life. I am the truth. Jesus' words are the truth. So that's the question is. What did it set us free from? Jesus' words set us free from spiritual ignorance, sin, and spiritual death. Is this word being set free from? Is this word being set free from ignorance and spiritual things? Is it word being set free from sin? Is it word being set free from spiritual death? Now, I don't know about you, but even if I take the three of them, that third one's pretty important to me. I want to be free from death that separates me from God. Absolutely, I want to be free from that. But free from sin in this whole world and free from this spiritual ignorance, yes, I want to be free from those things. Many Christians are free. And a lot of them don't even know it or realize it, or they take it for granted. There was a farmer who went to a little farmer's market. And at the farmer's market, there was a covey of quail. And they all had little strings on their little feet, and they were attached to a pole. So all day long, this covey of quail attached to a pole, like a pole. And all they did all day long, walk around the circle. Their legs attached in here. So this man goes up to the farmer and says, hey, I want to buy all the quails. Hey, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty good day. The man goes over on the pole. Snip. All the string. And why do I will? Why? They're not even having finally the man says, shoot! But isn't that how it is with Christians? We're we've been set free. Jesus says, the Son sets you free. You are free indeed. We need to realize we're free today from all kinds of things called He freed us. We don't have to continue more out there. Here. It's sin. And drudge. We're free indeed. That's let's put it together. The natural question is learn from Jesus. Hold on to my teaching. That will make you a disciple, or learn it makes you a disciple. You know the truth causes this resurrection, and the truth is going to set you free. That's a natural progression. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful to walk out this door and explain that to people? They get it and understand it. I understand that progression. Learn, disciple of Jesus. I understand the truth, and the truth sets you free. You can be a believer and not a disciple. Being a believer is in heaven. But one way, if you are a disciple, or to be Jesus, the road is going to be rocky. Being a disciple, the road you may say and handle. Jesus, you can't say. Then you know the truth. Jesus' word is that you will free from sin. Spiritual darkness. Let's see what our lives are like. You've probably heard this saying before, the road of failure is paved with good intentions. How many of you have heard that before? The road of failure is paved with I intend to do this, backwards. But here was your day. I have great intentions to think outside of not a believer. I understand it, I get it, you even bring it on the bang, I've got it. I'm going to be just a believer. I want to be a disciple, but I can't find the discipline to make it happen. And that's probably key for us. This discipline to make it happen. Let me close with this illustration. At the close of a very important speech to Congress on January 6, 1941, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, he shared his vision of the kind of world that he wanted to be after the war in Europe was over. So you got a picture in your mind's eye. We're talking about World War II and that period of time. He's saying, hey, when the war in Europe is over, this is the kind of world I want to be. So he gives 4 basic freedoms, and here are the freedoms he gives. Freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. That was his goal. Man, when we wind this down in Europe, I want to move to those goals, and I want that to happen. If you know anything about history. But at that point, World War II exploded far beyond Europe, and the world never achieved Roosevelt's ideal. I mean, he's at this point thinking maybe the war in Europe is fixing to wind down, and when it winds down, I'm going to be able to go before the world and say, as President of the United States, here's 4 freedoms I want us to do, and there's goals and what we need to move toward this. And he had great intentions. But instead of the war winding down, the war exploded into more parts of the world. And in the process, those 4 goals that he had were never, ever met. Roosevelt had some great expectations for the world. He had great intention on trying to make those expectations come true. But the war exploded and it never happened. So how about you today? Are your expectations fulfilled now after the resurrection that Paul talks about? Roosevelt had some expectations. Exploded, war did, never happened. Today, would you be able to say, no, I don't fulfill those expectations for myself. I want to fulfill natural resurrection. Learn from the cycle and true. You want to teach you that Jesus comes to the cycle and experience the truth and have a true separate truth. Then don't allow things to lie. Don't allow things to lie like they did in the world. Roosevelt was never met. Intentions are good, because things explode and happen. Don't let it happen. Because you have good intentions. They say, I want to move beyond into being like I want to live set free. Then don't have intentions that can leave that felt. The world blow up so much about intentions is just not. Take time to do that. I understand that resurrection. I am believe. But today, I believe this is my learning makes me a disciple, and a disciple of those understanding and those who truth. What are you Father, I love this action. We come before you, and God, I know and understand that we come before you for the virgin word. I try to explain it and bring it to people, and make it as clear as we possibly can. So I pray, God, if there's anyone that's here, they say, the first step, they be a believer, I haven't gotten there yet. But I don't want to leave this facility today. Something happened to me. I want to be a believer. You say, know that my eternal dignity. God, if anyone that's here today, that's never even started that whole regression, God, may they come forward, share Jesus Christ with them, they can be a believer today.